I've traveled around the world on a motorcycle, and I've put my motorcycle on an airplane 3 times. And each time was actually pretty easy and not horribly complicated. Basically, some proof of ownership and a promise not to sell said motorcycle in a country, but shipping a dog overseas has become a pretty big challenge. And luckily for me, I'm always up for a challenge, especially in the name of adventure. That's what makes my heart tick, is a challenge and an adventure. This one's definitely running me through the hoops, and I wanted to share in this video what we have done so far. We're still a few weeks of flying out, and everything has been set. I don't have to do anymore, and I want to share what I've learned so far. So, hey everybody, I'm Sherri Joe. If you're new to this channel, I traveled around the world solo on a motorcycle, and for the last 3.5 years I've been traveling around Australia in a 4-wheel drive motorhome with 2 pets actually. I've got Cody Cowboy, who's my Australian cattle dog, and then there's Casper, the 3-legged rescue cat. And Casper is not a huge fan of travel in the motorhome to begin with, and I was really worried about him actually making it on an overseas flight. He does not cope well. He's a pretty stressy and anxious cat. So luckily my neighbors have offered to keep him in Australia, and he'll be in a yard that he knows. He'll be with people that he loves and a house that he knows. So I'm really happy about all of that, and I think Casper will be too. Cody Cowboy, on the other hand, he wants to be with me all the time, and that can be a good thing, but that could be a stressful thing for him, especially during the separation we're about to go through. I found so far that preparing a dog to travel overseas is like teaching your cat to do your taxes for you. Like, it is just almost insane. I'm jumping through those hoops, and I'm going to follow through, because it's not like I'm the first to ever do this. Plenty of people have flown with their pets overseas, and by learning from them, I'm hopefully going to help you, and you can learn from what I have already learned. There is a huge amount of paperwork. There is a huge amount of stress, and even huger, even bigger, even larger, even gigantic is the cost. So expensive. Like, I actually got 10 quotes. I'm not joking, I got 10 quotes. And all of them gave me numbers that made me fall out of my chair. Like, I just couldn't believe it. In comparison to the motorcycle, when I had to take it on an airplane, my first flight with my motorcycle out of Australia to Japan was the same cost as my seat. Like, it was just like a second ticket. It wasn't that horrible. Cody Cowboy, on the other hand, it is a different story, I get it. But how much different? Like, the motorcycle was labeled dangerous goods. Cody Cowboy is labeled live export. They both have their challenges, right? Live export is something more stressful because a motorcycle is not going to die in transit, right? So I get it, and I was okay for it to cost more, but oh my gosh, this much more is thousands of dollars. It's almost ridiculous. But trust me, you can't just book a dog with a ticket on an airplane. There's a lot to consider. There's a lot to go through. What I've found so far in my research, and I've done a heck of a lot of research. I'm a little bit of a research nerd, and I actually take that to not the best level, because I get into analysis paralysis. And my research had shown that there have been some problems with previous animal exports, and I just did not want to get this wrong. But most importantly, by hiring this animal relocation specialist, they're going to make sure the paperwork's correct. They're going to get all the government checks and all the documents lined up, and they're going to make sure his vaccinations reach the levels and the time periods that are required. And we need to prove that Cody won't be a risk once he arrives in Europe, because what would happen then is that he would either have to go in quarantine for a long time, causing another huge expense, or they would ship him back to Australia full stop. And that would mean I'd have to go back to Australia, and oh, that would be thousands of dollars down the drain. So on the positive side, hiring this company, hopefully between the two of us, we're going to get everything completely perfect, and he will have a smooth exit and entry into Europe. So on my checklist are things that everybody would have to go through, and that's the microchip. Cody's had since he was a baby, so that was easy. proof of his vaccinations. He had to get a special rabies vaccination, and that was okay, but had to be done 3 months prior to departure. So we did that in December. Thank goodness I researched it. Can't be done just before. It has to be done well ahead. He's gonna have a special blood test, special vet reports, government approvals. He needs to get an airline approved carrier, and they also has to be booked onto an airline that accepts pets. Not all airlines accept pets. If there's any missed step in here, it would be disaster. I'm sort of griping about how much money I have to pay for a live export specialist, but I'm hoping that it will mean everything turns out perfectly, not just in logistics, but with the care of Cody in this entire journey. It's actually a very long journey for him. He leaves one day before I do, and he arrives one day after I do. So we're flying from Adelaide, South Australia to Frankfurt, Germany. Cody has to leave a day before me because he has to fly to Melbourne to see a special vet there. They keep him overnight, and then they load him on the airline to Doha, Qatar from Melbourne. That's going to be about 13 hours, that flight. So that's a pretty big deal. And then he has 12 hours layover in Doha, and then they put him on another airplane to Frankfurt, Germany, arriving a day after me. So pretty big journey for Cody Cowboy, and my worry about all of this and the time that he's going to be separated is absolutely at the top of my stress list. They assure me that the animal cares, that I researched all of the companies and I chose the one that had the best reviews, and they assure me that the animal cares in Doha are very good at their job, and they will take Cody out and he'll get some exercise. They'll clean out his crate. Let's hope that he doesn't have to lay in feces in his crate, but that's another big thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I've learned from them that I'm going to reduce the amount of food that he's eating before he goes, because you don't want him to have to release things in his crate. After 13 hours, you also sort of hope that he does, because that's just far too long to hold it. And Cody is the type of dog to hold it. Like, I can leave him in a house. I can put food on the floor. He will not touch his food. He does not destroy anything. I don't know what he does. I assume he just lays with his head facing the door until I come back. And he was a little baby puppy. I think he weed in the house twice. He learned really quickly not to do that. So he holds it. Will he hold it on an airline for 13 hours in the crate? Like, he might. That's pretty worrisome, actually. It really stresses me out. I'm stressed about it. He sleeps like a baby. He's in the motorhome every day. I wake up at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock. Oh my gosh. What if they lose the crate? Like, what if I shouldn't say I've lost. Airlines have lost my luggage before. Have they lost yours? Like, they eventually find it and they eventually got it back to me. But do they lose dogs? I suppose they could. What if between the specialist company and myself, we missed something in the paperwork? I mean, they're human. It can be done. They've actually already caught an error. They caught an error on a vet had made an error on his rabies vaccination documentation. Luckily, they've already found that, and it's not an easy fix. They can't just white it out and correct it. It has to be all officially signed and labeled and so forth. So they're getting that corrected before we take off, which is good. If they get any of this paperwork wrong, could Cody be stuck in a cargo warehouse in an airport like Tom Hanks was stuck, in that movie called The Terminal? These are things that I worry about, and these are things that I'm overthinking about. But if you're a pet lover like I am, you would know that this fear is quite real. I'm doing the best that I can. I feel like I've done enough research to have picked the right company to ship him. They're going to do the best to make sure that he's as comfortable as possible to get to the other side safely and hopefully happy. There has been some things I've learned about the actual shipping process itself, which I didn't expect. Like in my early research, I said to myself, oh, you know what, I'll be smart and I'll get an air tag and then I can follow along the journey. So I ordered an air tag, and I ordered a special thing to put the air tag in on his collar. And nope, they take the collars off, and if you travel with a dog with an air tag, they will remove the air tag and you will never see it again. So the specialist says, if you want to keep your money for the air tag, you might as well just put it in your luggage and and put it back on him when you get to the other side. So they call it a choking hazard, and I can understand that. And I'm sure that there have been some dogs that have, like when they say that one person ruins it for everybody, there's probably been a dog that swallowed an air tag, and I'm so sorry for that dog if that happened. But oh my gosh, that is sad. And then there's also this collar that you can get for a dog called Adaptil, and it's supposed to have some smells that help keep the dog calm and while they're in their crate. And unfortunately, he can't wear that collar either. So yeah, there's a lot of things to go through and to check off, and this research process is really highlighting every bit of it. The specialists are there for a reason. They're getting paid a lot of money for that, so they assure me that they'll spray. They've got an actual spray of this Adaptil that they can spray in his crate in Melbourne for the long haul to Doha. Not only do we want to make sure that Cody Cowboy is comfortable, but that he arrives safely. And I had actually heard, I've done too much research, I read a story just last week actually of a lady who shipped her dog out of Australia to an Asian country, and she had a different airline as well, and this particular airline didn't give her dog water, and they had, I'm not sure how they obtained it, but they had a video of CCTV, I guess, of their dog sitting out on the tarmac, and it didn't have any water, and nobody checked on the dog, nobody gave the dog water. And when it arrived its destination, it had been too long without water, it dehydrated, and it died. Like, oh, it's, yeah, I would not cope with that. I would not cope with that. I'm so sorry for the owners of that dog. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and like I said, there's plenty of people who arrive on the other side safely, and their dogs are happy, their cats are happy on the other side. So there's actually, interestingly enough, a charter that you can get. So there's a company out there who charters flights for owners and pets so that your pet can actually ride up in the airplane with you. And the minimum cost for that, depending on your destination, was over $20,000. And I just don't have $20,000 to spend on shipping Cody overseas. I really don't. And I'm really happy for the people who can afford that. And there seems like there's plenty, because it sounds like their flights or their chartered flights get booked out pretty regularly. So anyway, I think that's cool. Maybe in another life when I have a lot more money, I can do that too. But for now, we're just doing the best we can with what we've got to deal with. But things are getting really, really real right now, and we're getting close. There's just a lot to prepare. I'm in the process of preparing all of my stuff as well, but Cody is the priority, and that's why I wanted to share this video. If you've ever moved a pet internationally, if you've already done it, please comment below. I would love to hear your experience. I'd love to hear how it went, and if you have any advice. So this video will come out before we leave, so if you've got any advice, we'll certainly take it. And then, if you like and subscribe, follow along with us, because Cody's just about to get his wings, and we would love you to come along with us.